controversial filmmaker Sir Leslie Manville Quint was born on the 5th of May 1927 in Guildford, Surrey, to Rear Admiral Douglas Quint and his young wife Esther. Yet even by the repressed standards of the 1920s, the Quint's marriage was turgid.
I do remember there was 1 month where they didn't speak at all. And I had to act as some sort of rudimentary go-between, passing messages between the two, and food.
In 1936, the thundering silence that defined the Quint's marriage ended abruptly when Esther loaded the family blunderbuss and shot Douglas dead.
I was on the floor drawing particularly a savage crow that I'd seen in the garden, and I turned round and I saw this figure lying prostrate on the bearskin rug, and I could do nothing but sit there and draw him. I kept the blunderbuss that killed my father, firstly because it was a very valuable heirloom, and second of all because it represents for me a time that we were all together.
Pleading insanity at her trial, the court ruled Esther was certainly troubled and, to her considerable dismay, she was incarcerated in Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital.
I did visit her once in Broadmoor. It was such a ghastly place, you know, all the screaming and the tacky bed linen. I vowed never to go back, so I didn't.
With his mother unable to raise him, things looked bleak for Leslie. Fortunately, fate smiled upon him in the form of his uncle, Oswald Quint.
He introduced me to London, Mayfair, Soho, rough East End boozers where men without teeth would fight day and night. All the things he felt a young lad should know. And as a result, I had a splendid time.
In 1937, Leslie transferred to Caravaggio's boys' school, where he was introduced to film by his art teacher, Mr. Simons.
I do recall Mr. Simons took a shine to me. Yes, looking back, he did spend a lot of time with the boys. His personal tutelage, he called it. And yes, several boys used to come out crying, and I remember one instance where one boy didn't come out at all. But, you know, I do believe the press blew the whole thing out of proportion, as they tend to do.
Despite rabid encouragement from Mr. Simons, Leslie had little interest in academia and even less interest in Mr. Simons. Upon graduation in 1946, he followed in his father's footsteps by joining the British Merchant Navy.
Did I want to see the world? No, it was a mistake. I was visiting a new friend of mine, a sailor, on his boat, and I fell asleep in his hammock. And when I came to, the first thing I knew was that I was off the coast of North Africa.